Hello, this is Spokane County Sheriff John Nowels. I have with me today Spokane County Prosecuting Attorney Preston McCollam. We would like to address you about several pieces of concerning legislation currently in the Washington State Legislative session. We'd like to speak particularly about Senate Bill 5974, which is deemed the modernizing sheriff's and chief's offices in the state of Washington. And it is more commonly referred to as the Sheriff and Chief Qualification Bill. I have significant concerns, as do several other sheriffs, most other sheriffs and citizens in the state of Washington, about this legislation, which is currently passed the Washington State Senate down partisan lines votes. 5974 purports to modernize the qualifications of the people who are allowed to run for the office of sheriff and modernize the responsibilities of the offices of sheriff and chief of police. The effect that these bills actually have is removing the voice of voters in who is elected to the office of sheriff and removes the voter's voice in removing a sheriff from office. This bill also requires sheriffs to enforce the Constitution of the United States and the state of Washington as interpreted by the Washington State Supreme Court. It also removes all of the constitutional protections voters have in deciding who gets to run for sheriff, who is elected as sheriff, and who is removed from office. Additionally, it removes the types of people that we can have as volunteers and the activities our volunteers can use. It would also limit a sheriff's jurisdiction to only those parts of the unincorporated part of a county. I think we as voters would have a problem with that, and that there are some significant public safety issues and voters' rights issues with this legislation. I will now turn the time over to Prosecutor McCollam to give his viewpoints of how dangerous this legislation is.
One of the primary aspects of this bill that concerns me the most is that it, under the guise of modernization, it removes the voters' ability to have the sheriff that they chose. We already have a mechanism for removing an elected sheriff, and that's enshrined in our state constitution. Under Article 1, Section 33 and 34, we have the recall process. This is a recall process that has been used successfully throughout the state to remove sheriffs when they do not meet the expectations of their community. So while on the one hand, modernization sounds like a lofty goal, that's not what this bill does. What this bill does is essentially take the voice of the voter and subordinates it or puts it under the authority of an unelected body in Olympia. And that is not what the people of this state deserve. That's not what our Constitution guarantees. As a county prosecutor, the other concern that I have is the fact that our sheriffs should be focused on protecting the community. They should be focusing on answering the needs of their community instead of trying to appease an unelected board or appease the state legislature. A county sheriff is guaranteed by our state constitution to be a separately elected official, a separately elected executive. This legislation seeks to undermine that and would guarantee that the voices of our communities are silenced. Under the goal of modernization, we are poised to take diversity of opinion, diversity of thought, and the diversity in our community and distill it down to one single entity, a board on the west side that is appointed, not subject to the people, and they do not have the same accountability as your elected sheriff, and we call it modernization. And so at this point, we have to act, and it's our intent that the community be made aware of what the true effect of this bill is.
So to finish, what I'm asking our citizens, our community to do, is to reach out to your legislator, let them know what your opinions are on this legislation. Talk to members of the House who will be now considering this legislation. Contact the governor's office and ask for a veto. I will also add that the people who will be making decisions on a sheriff's certification consist of 5 members. I am elected by a community of 550,000 people, and their voices will be distilled down to 5. We cannot allow that, and I promise you, this legislature that is currently in power will not stop at the office of an elected sheriff. they will go after other elected officials to control how you are represented and who you get to elect to represent your local community. So please act now.